The SBI has been sued by the Minnesota Break the Bonds campaign and a number of named plaintiffs. The board was served with an action that sought declaratory and injunctive relief that the MSBI investment in Israel bonds is not statutorily authorized and violates the prudent person standard. The action seeks a court order prohibiting the MSBI from further investment in Israel bonds pending the outcome of the case, and a final judgment directing the MSBI to divest from all Israel bonds. The action has not yet been filed. A response will be served on behalf of the SBI. Do you have questions or comments? Otherwise, I think there will be comments later.
Thank you. Christy, so you said it has not yet been filed. Does that mean that they haven't actually filed it then with the courts?
That's correct.
So the board has been served, but so then if it hasn't been filed with the courts, then it doesn't really become real in the court's eyes until it's filed with them. Is that correct? I guess I'm not an attorney, as you know. So.
You can start a lawsuit under Minnesota law with what's called a pocket summons, meaning service initiates a lawsuit. So there is a lawsuit pending. Just filing in the court then triggers various court calendars.
And I guess that was my follow-up question, is there is no timeline yet, because until it gets filed, then we get the calendar set up and we'll begin to know timelines. Is that correct?
Well, there's a requirement to file a response to the complaint within a certain period of time. Just once the court establishes the calendar, that'll set forth the judge's view of what the calendar of the case will be.
Thank you.
But there is a timeline for responding.
And I'll have to say, I did not check this morning to see if it was filed, but as of Friday.
So also not be the lawyer, what, from a legal standpoint, have you been served in terms of a discussion about this topic this afternoon? Is that a bearing on it, on what we can discuss, not discuss, say, not say?
It does not have a bearing. It's really the prerogative of the board as to what the discussion should be.
Well, subject to discussion with my three other members here, I'm not inclined to have this be an open-ended discussion. And we spent in March well over an hour. It's about an hour and a half, and we gave everybody who wanted to speak, over 20 people, a chance to speak, and we've had correspondence back and forth since then. And so I am not going to repeat that. If you want to take, I propose 10 minutes to have somebody or some group summarize your views. I think that they've been well established in the March meeting and through correspondence. And I just want to say also, I really take umbrage with an article that appeared, or editorial in the MNBBC last week or the week before about, we made allegations about the board's conduct of investing in just asserting illegal actions, that the Attorney General, and that's a very definitive opinion, obviously the court go beyond that, but the Attorney General wrote a letter to Mr. Phil Benson on March 31st of this year and stated, can advise you Minnesota law provides that in addition to the investments authorized in subdivisions 1 to 5, the state board may invest funds in, number 5, international securities. It meant to me is about as clear permission, whether it's advisable, whether it's for all the other grounds, financial, fiduciary, moral, policy, whatever else you want to say, but to accuse us in contradiction, direct contradiction of what the Attorney General's opinion or letter has stated, that we are acting illegally, I take real offense at. And so, if you filed a lawsuit, so if you want to take us to court, say we're acting illegally, then go ahead. You're entitled to do so. But I don't, on that basis, I'm not inclined to spend a lot more time listening to something that you're, when you're falsely accusing us of something we're not doing, in my judgment. So I would propose 10 minutes for them to present their whatever they want to present, and any questions or discussions ensuing from that. Okay. So however you want to proceed, next 10 minutes are yours with the bounds of responsible conduct.
I'm the only one speaking for Minnesota Break the Bonds campaign. My name is Sylvia Schwartz.
You're the one who wrote the piece.
Pardon me?
You're the one who wrote the piece in Minnesota, right?
I'm a member of the core team of Minnesota Break the Bonds, and I'm also a member of the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network of the Twin Cities. And I'm a co-plaintiff on the lawsuit that we served. I'm a plaintiff because even though I am a Jew, and therefore a privileged person in Israel, my husband is a Palestinian, who was expelled from his home in 1948 when he was 3 years old. In violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and UN Resolution 194, Israel has never allowed him and the other Palestinian refugees to return to their homes. Israel's discriminatory laws granting special rights and privileges to Jews at the expense of Palestinians are immoral, unethical, illegal, and offensive. They should offend all of us as Americans and as human beings. Israeli laws discriminate against Palestinians simply because they are not Jews. They are not of the correct ethnicity. Israel ethnically cleansed over 750,000 Palestinians from their homes in 1948 and continues the ethnic cleansing to this date. In their quest to keep all of Mandate Palestinian territory with none of the non-Jewish people in it, Israel has demolished more than 26,000 Palestinian homes since 1967, killed thousands of unarmed civilians, built a more than 400-mile, 25-foot-high wall well within Palestinian territory, which separates Palestinians from their own farmland, their own family members, and their own educational institutions. Israel has devastated the Palestinian economy, both in the West Bank and in Gaza, stolen water from Palestinians, and destroyed millions of olive trees. Who is paying for Israel to institute this system of apartheid? And I say apartheid because the Russell Tribunal, which recently convened in South Africa, found Israel guilty of the crime of apartheid. Which country says that of all countries that commit human rights abuses, Israel is special, and Israel alone should be paid and encouraged to continue? And which state says that although investing pension funds in foreign government securities is illegal according to its own laws, it should continue to invest in Israel's? Which state says that although Israel has signed and ratified the Fourth Geneva Convention, it still wants to fund its illegal settlement activities contrary to U.S. and international law? In a time when Palestinian nonviolent demonstrators are shot in the face at close range with tear gas canisters, as happened 2 days ago, in a time when villages are totally surrounded by the apartheid wall, in a time when a serious candidate for presidency of the United States and a historian says that Palestinians are an invented people, in a time when people are working actively against Palestinian freedom and self-determination, it's more important than ever to work on the side of human rights and justice and compliance with international law. So we ask you to divest.
Do you care to respond to questions or have a discussion? Schwartz, you or anyone else care to answer questions or respond, have a discussion? Or? Members of the board? I mean, I would just say that a lot of what you said, has great validity. What it comes down to in terms of our legal, constitutional, requirement and prescription is that, first of all, to make legal investments, and secondly, to make every decision regarding existing investments and potential new investments according to a very strict standard in the statute of fiduciary responsibility. And I don't know, how long have the Israel bonds been held by the state board? Back in the 80s?
In the 90s.
90s. So I mean, successive members of this board have made the decision that it's fiduciarily, viable or appealing investment, and furthermore, to disinvest from them would be contrary to our fiduciary responsibility. And so, on that part, you could, to me, I don't understand how you can assert that it's illegal under Minnesota statute when Minnesota statute says so very clearly that the international securities is a permitted investment. And this has been going, these have existed for over 20 years. And, you can disagree with it, one thing. You blast us for that, but to say that we're acting illegally with direct contradiction to any evidence, it's just, I don't think, responsible.
It is it's the opinion of the lawyers that we're working with that it is an illegal investment. I just asked, you have divested from Iran and Sudan. And in both cases, you divested of corporations that do work in those countries. You did not even mention divesting from government securities in those countries because it's already illegal. You don't need to.
No, I don't dispute that. Again, I mean, you're entitled to any opinion you want. I don't question your right to, question our fiduciary judgment or anything else in our policy. I think the lawyers have that view, then I guess that's why, we filed the suit. So.
I have, Mr. Chair, for the record, can I just say that I take my fiduciary duty incredibly seriously, and we rely on the Attorney General's Office of Attorney in the state to advise us, and because I'm not an attorney, and so, but, if I thought we were doing anything illegally, I certainly would have done something about it. We've not been advised that it's illegal, and this is definitely a foreign policy issue, and I know it's a very serious issue for people who really are, paying attention and really understand all of the issues and layers. And we don't necessarily do foreign policy on the State Board of Investment. When the legislature decides they want to put their toe in there, they have, and that was Sudan and Iran. Right, yeah, so anyway, the legislature, the lawmakers can change something in statute, but that's why those occurred, is because they decided to do that, and I think that was suggested as an option for your group to see if you can engage them in the issue. But we are guided by very specific things for our authority, our responsibility, and who we're responsible to, and so I think we all take our job very seriously and do the very best we can for the people that we're serving. And I appreciate your diligence in fighting for this issue, but I'm just not sure this is a place that's going to be resolved. So.
I think go ahead, sir. She had her hand up first.
Yeah.
You need to go to the microphone, please.
Okay.
You have something you want to say, sir? You want to go ahead? Or what? You sit up there, whatever you want.
My name is David Smith, and I think if you look closely at what you were served, you'll find that the lawyers point out that that statement about making investments in foreign government bonds is number 5 of a list of 5 statements, and therefore at the end of the statement, by normal legal principles, it relates to the previous 4, and the previous 4, it didn't say government bonds, it said government investments. And all of the 4 previous investments are not government bonds, but rather corporate investments. And so the normal interpretation is that international investments refers to those listed in the previous 4. The comment about government bonds comes in the previous section and is not qualified by that statement. So that's the legal reason for saying that these bonds are illegal investments. As far as the political position stands, and you say you don't want the state to be doing foreign policy, the very purchase of Israel bonds already implies foreign policy, since these funds can be used for construction in the West Bank, which is illegal by the 4th Geneva Convention, Article 49. So it's already implied that there is illegal activity, so it's offering financial support for the violation of international law.
Mr. Smith, I would just say that if we were hypothetically deciding now for the first time whether to purchase Israel bonds, that that would be one consideration. We have a very different consideration since they have been held now for some 25 years. One is that is it legal or not, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'll let your lawyers and the other lawyers dispute that. Seems clear to me, but again, that can be resolved. And the second is, are we then we're bound, if it's a legal investment, to act in, as the state auditor said, in a fiduciary responsible way, which is again very clearly defined in statute. It really limits what we can consider as a basis for any decision one way or the other. So that's just the reality in which we operate. So thank you.
I can yield to the other advice, and what I saw in looking at the records on it was that the bonds were purchased in 2003. And I believe also there were a large number of Israel bonds purchased by states in 2003, beginning in 2003, which seemed to me that there was kind of a campaign on the part of Israel to get states to invest starting at that time.
Mr. Bricker is occasionally wrong, so we made this 1980s or in 2003. I'll defer to the facts that can be determined. Just one.
And I'm going to make just a very short point. I don't look at the legalities of this. I look at your responsibility of the moral issue of what's right. And that's what needs to weigh on your conscience when you make these decisions. Look at the morality of it.
For the record, could you state your name, please? So,
Dixie Bella?
thank you. Well, what my moral compass tells me is that I took an oath of office last January to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of the United States and the state of Minnesota. So if I want to change the laws, then that's another process. And as the auditor said, if you go to the legislature and list the allies and change the law, that allows us to change our decisions here. But to me, to act outside the law is not an option.
Well, I'm just saying it's more than, do you understand the
I do.
legality? That the morality of what these funds are doing, and it's not right, clearly.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for we're over the time. What do you have to add?
Oh, Governor,
Sit down, please.
perhaps a different view. Governor, members of the State Board of Investment, I'm Steve Hunnigs. Pardon me, I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Minnesota and the Dakotas, and I thank the State Board of Investment and our state's constitutional officers for their management of Minnesota's pensions fund in this transparent manner. It's unfortunate that this prudent, modest investment in Israel has become the subject of litigation. After all, President Obama frequently refers to our ties with Israel as unbreakable. This reflects a bipartisan consensus of 63 years. It also reflects upon Israel's President Shimon Peres, who said just yesterday at a conference in Tel Aviv, quote, "I would love to see the Palestinians engaging in talks with Israel now. I believe that Palestinian Authority leaders are serious people who are interested in peace." Divestment from Israel does not move us any closer to peace. Delegitimizing Israel does not assist Shimon Peres in his efforts. Moreover, investment in Israel supports incredible incubation of scientific, medical, and agricultural innovation, saving lives throughout the world. Just yesterday I read about a new vaccine being developed for cancer at Hadassah Hospital. Or we can ask other states, Indiana, Texas, Ohio, Illinois, Pennsylvania, who have all bought Israel bonds in 2011. For all its imperfections, like any nation, support for Israel in this country is at its all-time high as measured by polls such as Gallup. Perhaps not in this room today, but Minnesotans and Americans in general have great support for the Palestinians, as they support for Israel, as they do for the Palestinians for a two-state solution. And I don't see how investment from Israel bonds moves us any closer to that day when we'll have Israel and an independent Palestine living state to state, door to door, literally as neighbors in peace, with a great economic future for both countries. And as I said, let us not divest, let us work towards peace, and hopefully that word shall go forth from this room today, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? I want to thank everyone here for their, I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to say one thing, and then I'll be quiet. So, whether it be the moral argument or the political argument, pro, anti, what I want to say is whenever I have a difficult situation in any of the boards I serve on, I always go back to my authority and my responsibility as defined in state law and constitution. And they don't list morality and they don't list politics, and so although it's a very serious situation, we are guided by certain principles that were laid out for us, and I took an oath and I uphold my oath as well. So I urge you to try to go to the place where you can find your relief, which will be a different body. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for the very respectful way and courteous way in which you conduct yourself at this meeting and listening to different points of view. I appreciate that. This is the people's building, and this is democracy, and I thank you very much for honoring the best conduct of democracy, which is respect. So thank you very much. Any other business coming before the State Board of Investment?
Move to adjourn.